Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Waha, Racha, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone to rule well. Peace and blessing salutations to the hopeful elect of Israel. Alright, this lesson, it's going to be real brief. I'm going to touch on the topic of sex is marriage. Okay, now, marriage today is where you have a wedding and you get a wedding ring and, do vows and have cake, all that stuff. Wedding rings actually go back to Saturn, okay, which the brother's going to explain in this video, briefly. And I'm fairly certain you bowing or getting on your knee and giving her a ring also goes into the Queen of Heaven worship, but I'm not completely sure on that. All right, but the point is, we know for sure that the way that we keep weddings today, or the way that we do weddings today, are not biblical and they are not backed up by the scriptures. Therefore, they are man-made customs. Okay, they are pagan customs, or they go back to some false god or some religion. All right, so I'm going to play this video and we're going to touch on this topic a bit because there's quite a few scriptures to get regarding sex being marriage, but I'm going to get the ones that come off the top of the dome, so to speak. All right, so let me play this video. It's only about a minute long, so.
Show me that in the scriptures where Adam put a ring on Eve's finger. Show me where Abraham put a ring on Sarah's finger.
Now, here's what it says here.
Show me where Isaac put a ring on Rebecca's finger. Show me where Joseph put a ring on Mary's finger. You spoke on it already?
No.
Show me where Solomon put a ring on any one of his 700 wives' fingers. It ain't in there. That's a lot of damn rings. That whole ring bullshit goes back to the worshippers of Saturn. The worshippers of Saturn wear those rings. If you notice, the planet Saturn has the rings around it. That goes back to, and Saturn worship is basically satanic worship. That's what the whole thing with that ring. They even made a movie called Lord of the Rings.
Now it says here.
And in the movie, the Lord of the Rings, who was the Lord of the Rings? Satan. It had the all-seeing eye. Mordor.
Right, so anything that's pagan really goes back to Satan, all right? If you're not worshiping Yahweh, Yahweh Shai, then you're worshiping Satan. It's man-made customs, all right? If it's not biblical, then you shouldn't be doing it, all right? Like Christmas, okay? Christmas is mentioned in the Bible, but not as something to celebrate. It's mentioned as a custom that the heathens do, okay? That's in Jeremiah 10. Just like Easter, Halloween, Thanksgiving, these things may be briefly mentioned in the scriptures as something to avoid, but not something to do, all right? Because they all go back to paganism and false gods and all these other things, which really just goes back to Satan, okay? The spirits of demon Satan. So, with that, let's head into the scripts. This is, let me just start at verse 63. This is Genesis 24 and 63. And Isaac went out to meditate in the field at the eventide. And he lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, the camels were coming. And Rebekah lifted up her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she lighted off the camel. For she had said unto the servant, What man is this that walketh in the field to meet us? And the servant had said, It is my master. Therefore she took a veil and covered herself. And the servant took Isaac all things that he had done. And Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent, and took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her, and Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. So what do you think happened in that tent, man? Why would he take her and put her into a tent which is closed off from the public so you can't see what's going on? Why do you think he would bring her into a tent? And then all of a sudden, they're married. So Isaac brought Rebekah into the tent. They came out of the tent. And they were husband and wife. What happened in that tent? Come on, man. All right. Let's go to the next scriptures. This is dealing with, but let me just read to get the context of it. Deuteronomy 21 and 10. When thou goest forth to war against thine enemies, And Yahweh thy God hath delivered them into thine hands, and thou hast taken them captives to go into the heathen nations. Now this is talking about, heathens taking them basically as concubines and them becoming, your woman. But it goes much deeper than that, okay? Because it clearly tells you that sex is marriage in this, which is why I'm bringing it out to begin with, okay? That's why it goes a lot deeper. Deuteronomy 21 and 11. And, well, here, let me read 10 again, Salakia. When thou goest forth to war against thine enemies, and Yahweh thy God hath delivered them into thine hands, and thou hast taken them captive, and seest among the captives a beautiful woman, and hast a desire unto her, that thou wouldest have her to thy wife, then thou shalt bring her home to thine house, and she shall shave her head and pare her nails. And she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in thine house, and bewail her father and her mother a full month. And after that, so after she's done bewailing, right? And after that, thou shalt go in unto her. Now, what does that mean? That means have sex with her, okay? When you, most of the time, if you read the context, like with certain precepts, most of the time when it says in unto her, it's talking about sex, okay? Because I'm saying when it says in unto, it's not always talking about sex, but when it says go in unto her, that's talking about sex, all right? Understand the context. It literally just said, if you see a beautiful woman among the captives, and then it's going to tell you now that she has to prep herself for you. And then it says right here, and after that, thou shalt go in unto her, and be her husband, and she shall be thy wife. So that's marriage, okay? And it shall be, Salakia, and it shall be, Deuteronomy 21:14, and it shall be if thou have no delight in her, then thou shalt let her go whither she will, but thou shalt not sell her at all for money. Thou shalt not make merchandise of her, because thou hast humbled her. Okay, meaning you had sex with her. She's your wife. Let's go into something else here. All right, let's go into something else. So that's the point, man. It's clear. Okay, it's clear. This is Deuteronomy 22, and we're going to start at verse 13. If a man take a wife and go in unto her and hate her, okay, so he doesn't want her, he doesn't like her, and give occasions of speech against her and bring up an evil name upon her and say, I took this woman, and when I came to her, I found her not a maid, Salakia. Then shall the father of the damsel and her mother take and bring forth the tokens of the damsel's virginity unto the elders of the city in the gate. All right, so virginity for a woman was extremely important, man. That was a valuable token, okay? That was very valuable, man. Whereas women just throw it to anybody and everybody right now, man. And more so, if the ancient rules applied, I would be put to death, for my wickedness before coming in the truth. And even when we go off in the truth, because, our flesh is weak, we make mistakes, we forget things. But you women would be done, man. Because if you sleep with two men, you're an adulterer. All right? You're an adulterer unless you became a widow from the first, okay? And then you were lawfully able to marry another. Or if your husband died and his brother would take you as a wife because that's the law. But other than that, you just sleeping with some random guy after, sleeping with somebody, you're an adulterer and you're supposed to be put to death. And so is the man that slept with you, man. Especially if he know, because it's one thing if he doesn't know. If he doesn't know that you're not married, then it's different, okay? But if he knows you're married, he knows that you have had sex before, and he has sex with you, then he's worthy of death too, man. And you'd both be put to death. You'd be stoned, all right? Verse 15, Deuteronomy 22:15, then shall the father of the damsel and her mother take and bring forth the tokens of the damsel's virginity unto the elders of the city in the gate. And the damsel's father shall say unto the elders, I gave my daughter unto his man to wife, and he hateth her. And lo, he hath given occasions of speech against her, saying, I found not thy daughter a maid. And yet these are the tokens of my daughter's virginity, and they shall spread the cloth before the elders of the city, and the elders of the city shall take that man and chastise him, all right, because he lied. And they shall immerse him in 100 shekels of silver, and give them unto the father of the damsel, because he hath brought up an evil name upon a virgin of Israel. And she shall be his wife, he may not put her away all his days. All right, because when he had sex with her, which was officiating marriage, he said he didn't, that she wasn't a virgin because he was trying to get out of it, right? But since they found out he was lying, he has to be his, they have to be with each other, Verse 20. But if this thing be true, so if she isn't a virgin, and the tokens of virginity be not found for the damsel, then they shall bring out the damsel to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her with stones that she die. Because she hath wrought folly in Israel to play the whore in her father's house, so shalt thou put evil away from among you. If a man be found lying with a woman married to an husband, then they shall both of them die. Both the man that lay with the woman and the woman, so shalt thou put away evil from Israel. And I don't know completely if the rules change if a man doesn't know if she's married. I don't know if that changes it, because if a man doesn't know that she's married and sleeps with her, I'm not sure. I would imagine that the rules would be different because he didn't know. But it just all depends on the circumstance. For the most part, whenever these type of things happen, men know that a woman has had sex before and knows that she's married, and all that, and they still didn't, they'd be put to death. All right? It says, if a man be found lying with a woman married to an husband, so had sex with another man and is with him, then they shall both of them die, both the man that lay with the woman and the woman, so shalt thou put away evil from Israel. If a damsel that is a virgin be betrothed unto an husband, meaning engaged, okay, so she hasn't had sex, but she's betrothed, okay, which is engaged. So she's still counted as married, but it's not completely official yet, okay, just like now you got fiancés and all that, but they haven't actually had the wedding. The wedding in this is sex, okay, according to the Bible, the wedding is sex. Now, did our people have ceremonies? Yes. Our people can have ceremonies and all that, but it's not the same thing, man. It's not the same thing as before. The ceremonies then were different, man. It was just kind of like celebration and stuff like that, and that's not even always what happened, It's completely different. There was no ring or anything like that. Like the brother said, show us the scriptures showing that a man gives a woman a ring, man. Verse 23, if a damsel that is a virgin be betrothed unto an husband, so engaged, but it hasn't been made official, but she's still considered married, all right, because she's promised to a man, and a man find her in the city and lie with her, then ye shall bring them both out unto the gate of that city, and ye shall stone them with stones that they die. The damsel, because she cried not being in the city, because if she would have cried, somebody would have saved her or helped her, if she was getting raped, okay? And the man, because he hath humbled his neighbor's wife, so shalt thou put away evil from among you. But if a man find a betrothed damsel in the field, and the man force her and lie with her, then the man only that lay with her shall die, because she screamed, but she was in the field so nobody could hear her, okay? So basically, if a woman was getting raped or a man was having sex with her, and she was married, or betrothed, which is counted as married, engaged, but not official yet, but it's still just, the penalty is the same. If you sleep with her when she's betrothed or when she's married, all right, officially, if she cries, that shows that she tried to stop it. She's crying for help, screaming, nobody helps her, the man's going to get put to death. She doesn't scream, they're both going to get put to death, all right? Deuteronomy 22 and 26, but unto the damsel thou shalt do nothing. There is in the damsel no sin worthy of death, because she screamed out, right? For as when a man riseth against his neighbor and slayeth him, even so is this matter. For he found her in the field, and the betrothed damsel cried, and there was none to save her. Okay, so nobody could come help her. But since she cried, she's not going to be put to death. All right, just the man. Now this is verse 28. Might as well finish the chapter, break this down as well. Okay, because it's a major stumbling block for people, and I'm going to show you how plain it is. All right. If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her and lie with her. All right, so lay hold meaning grab her. Okay, seize her and then lay with her, meaning have sex with her. All right, which is rape. And they be found, then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he hath humbled her. He may not put her away all his days. So they have to stay together, right? They can't get a divorce. The man cannot divorce her. A man shall not take his father's wife, nor discover his father's skirt. So, I mean, it's plain, right? If he rapes, and you're probably like, I mean, you may be wondering, well, why didn't he get put to death? Because before, the man got put to death because he did it with a damsel, or not a damsel, Salakia, because they're damsels completely in all this. The reason he got put to death before, it said the man got put to death, is because the damsel, the woman, she was betrothed. She was engaged to somebody. It just said right here, if a man find a damsel that is a virgin, meaning she's not officially married to anybody, and she's not betrothed. It says, which is not betrothed, so she's not engaged either, meaning she's up for grabs, so to speak. You know, she can marry, you know, any man, yet she hasn't chosen him, you know, and a man hasn't chosen her yet. And lay hold on her, which is grab her, seize her, and then lie with her, that's have sex with her, and they be found, meaning somebody finds them. Then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver. So he has to pay her father, because that's his possession, man. You know? But 50 shekels of silver was a good amount of money, man. Because he hath humbled her, he may not put her away all his days. So he can't divorce her. Okay? Because he did that. Which, it's not the same thing, man. Rape back then and rape now is not the same thing. This is a what-if scenario, first of all. Let's make that very clear. All right, but rape back then wasn't, like, what this is describing is not she's walking down an alleyway, she gets raped, beat, her clothes get ripped off and on. No, this would be like a man would you know, basically dominate a woman, you know, be dominant and have sex with her. Whether he would do that, you know, in a secret place somewhere, you know, like in the field or wherever, like it was saying, or whether that be, you know, takes her back to his house or whatever, you know, it's completely different, because his intention is that he wants to marry her. He wants her as a wife. And now women were excited to get married to men, because that was a big thing for them, man. They loved that because they wanted to start a family, and that they enjoyed that a lot, man. You know, just like a man did. He wanted a woman. Our people were completely different. We were on the east, and this was thousands of years ago, man. In the ancient world, on the east. All right? Not on the west. Completely different laws, man. All right? We became adults at a different age from now, and all that. Okay? We became adults at like 12 to 14 years old. And you may be like, whoa, what are you talking about? Oh, pedophilia. No, man. No. All right? It's not pedophilia. I've actually looked into it. I've researched it. Research it yourself, man. It even tells you, I'm roughly paraphrasing what I read, because the apostles even tell you to look these things up, man. It's not like the apostles just say, yeah, just believe us. No, they tell you to look it up. You know, so you're supposed to do your own research. All right, I've looked into the words of these precepts. It's clearly talking about rape. Okay, that's very clear. That's not even debatable. All right, and now with the other thing, when you become an adult, when a girl gets her period, that's when she's a woman. That's when she's a woman. Why would you have a girl be able to get pregnant if she absolutely wasn't able to, man? Or she wasn't supposed to? Just think about that for a second. All right, there's no such thing as a teenager in our customs. There's a girl and there's a woman. There's a boy and there's a man. There's no in-between teenager. Esau added that in. So, in Esau's time, when you're 12, you're not a teenager yet. And then 13 to 18 or 19, 13 to 19 is a teenager, right? Well, really, once you're so-called 18, you're an adult. But you get what I mean, right? And then after that's an adult. Take away that whole teenage year because it doesn't exist. That would mean from 12 to 13, that would mean you're an adult. That whole teenager thing is not biblical, man. That's not scriptural. I've looked it up. You can look it up yourself too. Well, in fact, let me just try and get it real quick. It was 12 to 14. This is the website. It says truth or tradition. All right, now let me get this. Let me get to the point. It says right here, one very remarkable thing about Mary is that she would almost certainly have been 12 to 14 years old when the angel Gabriel appeared to her. We know that, we know this because the common custom, so it was common at that time, was for girls to marry early at that age. The Bible never gives Mary's age when she got pregnant or gave birth to, it says Jesus, but we know it's Yahushai. And that is because when something happened that was common in the culture, nothing was said about it. Okay, and like a brother said before, on Instagram, he made a comment when we were discussing this. He made a comment. He's like, yeah, just like how when Esau came out, it described how he looked, red and all that, but it didn't describe Jacob because Jacob looked like everybody else. It was common. All right, that's why it didn't have to tell you. It didn't feel the need to tell you these things. It doesn't always feel that, there's certain times where it will tell you things that are common, but it's not likely, man, because they figured that you already knew that because that was a custom, man. They wouldn't, it wasn't anything, like peculiar or anything. Like that was something that they knew. That a girl, once she's 12 to 14, she became a woman. That's something they knew. And same with the boys, that they became a man at 12 to 14 or so, right? That's not something uncommon, so they didn't feel the need to put that in the Bible, man. And then Apostle Paul actually wrote, this is 1 Corinthians 7:36. But if any man think that he behaveth himself uncomely toward his virgin, if she pass the flower of her age, all right, which is her period, and need so require, let him do what he will. He sinneth not, let them marry. Okay, now, so that's clear, man. Now let me go into Deuteronomy 22. We're going to go into the words for this precept just to prove it for the scoffers out there, right? So it's Deuteronomy 22. We're going to go into the word and lay hold. All right. Let's hear what the Yiddish is, because this isn't the Hebrew that they're using. This is Yiddish. Okay, but
Strong's H 8610. Tafas.
Okay. So remember, this was let me go back to it. This is and lay hold, right? It says to catch, handle, lay hold, take hold of, seize, wield. To lay hold of, seize, arrest, catch, to grasp, right? It says to be seized, be arrested, be caught, be taken, captured. So he's grabbing her, he's seizing her, right? And then we're going to go into this word right here, on her and lie.
Strong's H 7901. Shachav.
And it says to lie down, to lie down, lie on, to lie of sexual relations, to be lain with sexually, So it's talking about sex, okay? It's clearly talking about sex. So it's telling you it's talking, and you can actually look at Deuteronomy 28 and other Bible translations. A lot of them say rape, and a lot of them clearly tell you that that's what it's pointing to is rape. Because a lot of the translations will literally say the word rape, and some of them will use different words that clearly describe rape. This is clearly rape, men. It clearly is. And it's just a what if scenario. Just like Esau has laws on if it happened, so did we. It's no different, man. It's no different. Okay? We have our own laws. We don't follow Esau's laws, man. Well, we do now because we're in captivity. But once we leave this place, we're going to go back to our laws, man. All right? Like straight up. It's not rocket science, man. But only those who have ears will hear. All right? It's as plain as it's going to get. All right, but like it said, to seize, let's look up the word rape in the etymology, all right? Let's look up that word rape. It says seize, prey, abduct, take by force. That's exactly what it just described, man, when you went into the words. Okay, so that's what this is, just a what-if scenario, man. So, Yahweh, Yahushua, this was edifying to the elect. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Waha, Racha, Quadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone of Rule Well. Peace and blessings, salutations to the hopeful elect of Israel. If you want to call us rapists and pedophiles, you do what you feel is necessary, okay? But just understand that you're going to have to answer for those slanderings that you're using. And you're also bearing false witness because we don't do that, okay? We're not doing any of that. All right? We would be locked up right now if we were. Okay? So if you want to call us those things, fine. All right? Do it. But we've already proved time and time again through the scriptures, through going into words, through research, through, just articles, through different facts from the ancient world and all that what we're saying is true. So if you don't believe it or you don't want to see it, okay. All right? But those who have ears will hear. Shalom.